What's up everybody, Hoang Zero here, and today I am here to bring you a tier list for the My Hero Academia trading card game. I am joined here today by Nathan Dewalt. Nathan is a player who has a lot of tops in this game. He made top 8 day 1 at Worlds for this game, last Worlds, and then he has multiple tops this season competitively. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do this tier list for the current Classroom Reunion set that is legal at the time of this video, and then of course we'll do another tier list later down the line for set 5 when that does come out. But the My Hero card game, and I know this obviously isn't Digimon, which is my normal crowd, is a card game that started not too long ago, about a year ago. It's picking up a lot of steam. It's really fun. Its mechanics are very unique, very akin to a fighting game, and so I'm trying to help players, both the currently existing fan base for this game, as well as any new players interested into this game, get more involved with this. My goal is to help older fan base players step up their game, if you will. Try to give it a little bit more of a competitive edge. Maybe you need that barrier between casual to competitive. This might be a really great stepping stone. And for new players, if you're interested in the franchise, you're interested in the gameplay system, which again, it plays like a fighting game, which is super unique. This video might be like, hey, I really like so-and-so character. Where do they place? What do I need to know about this character? And etc. So hopefully this can serve as a really great guide. But Nathan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Nate. That's about it. I play the game sometimes.
Yeah, so humble aside, Nathan has a lot of really great accomplishments, and so he is here today to help me place everything on this tier list. He's going to give us his expert opinion on the matter, and to start us off, Midoriya 1, and for those of you that are not familiar with this game, 4 characters, they're broken into numbers, for different iterations of the character. So Midoriya, for example, as you know, the main character of My Hero, he has 3 different iterations, soon to be 4 coming out in the next set, and then characters like Bakugou 3, Todoroki has 3, etc. Right? So Midoriya 1, how do you feel about him, Nate?
I think he's probably tier 2.
Okay. And any reason as to why?
He doesn't really do enough. His defense is like really mediocre, and his offense is just one big thing, and that's not enough.
But so between tier 2 and tier 3, the thing that makes him into tier 2 and not tier 3 is because that one big thing he does sometimes can just steal the game, right? Okay. And how do we feel about Midoriya 2?
That character's also tier 2.
Okay.
Has very good stats, gets to build quite a bit.
Okay.
Wanting to build multiple copies of the same types of foundations, which is very unique.
Yeah, and for people that aren't familiar with the terminology build, can you give us like a little brief description about that?
Yeah, building is you take foundations, which are like land and magic, if you are familiar with that term, and they all have separate abilities. You go back and forth, each player using the abilities on foundations during an attack, which is like how you beat people, I guess.
Okay. And how about Midoriya 3?
The character's tier 1. The character's very good. It topped 8 of the KC regionals that just happened this past weekend at the time of recording.
Yeah. Okay, and how about, moving forward from Midoriya, what about Bakugou?
Bakugou is a tier 2 deck. He
Okay.
gets to play a lot of attacks very easily, especially if you like blocking.
Yeah.
Like have a lot of health, you want to block your attacks. Guy just mitigates if you block it because he gets to discard them from his card pool. Yeah,
and unironically, Bakugou ended up actually winning the first ever Southern Houston locals we had the other week, which I thought was really funny, piloted by Stefan. But moving forward, how about Bakugou 2?
Bakugou 2 is tier 3.
Okay.
Guy is just not the best. He doesn't do a lot.
And so what does he do differently from Bakugou 1 that makes him tier 3?
Doesn't get to clear his card pool as easily. Yeah, he's very squishy. 7-handers are squishy characters, and if you're playing a 7-hander, you want your character to do a lot. The character just doesn't do enough.
Okay.
It flips your opponent's foundations for playing combo abilities on your attacks. That's just like not good enough.
Okay, and so, speaking of squishy, Bakugou 3 actually has less health than Bakugou 2, so where would you put Bakugou 3?
I would probably put Bakugou 2 at tier 2, Bakugou 3 at tier 2, because
Okay.
he just does more than what Bakugou 3 is trying to do. He gets to clear his card pool just like Bakugou 1 does, but and draw a bunch of cards. So
would you say that he's better or worse than Bakugou 1?
I think he's about on par. I think
Okay.
both are even.
Okay, and then moving forward, how do we feel about Todoroki 1?
Todoroki 1's tier 1.
Okay.
Being able to cancel like the one ability across your turn and your opponent's turn, just like once. Being able to cancel one thing that is gonna be like very huge can win you a game, and he has scaling damage across the game for your discard pile, which is very good.
Yeah, and I do know that Todoroki is a really huge fan favorite amongst fans of the franchise, and so I'm sure that a lot of them are excited to hear that. How about moving forward, Todoroki 2?
I think Todoroki 2 is probably tier 2.
Okay.
He all of his enhances are once per turn, so you have to use them kind of like to make one thing really big, or you can spread out your enhances, which is kind of cool. Gets to pick up a momentum, but both players get to do that, so it's like, do I want to give my opponent a momentum or not?
Yeah. And another thing I do want to briefly mention is that this game, being relatively new, and obviously every single character, they have 3 different attributes that they can build under. So for example, if you look at the card art, right below their HP, they have the 3 different symbols, and a character can build any deck among those 3 symbols that you have to commit to that symbol. So every single character has 3 different ways you can build their deck, meaning that, for a game that's so early into its lifespan, there's a lot of room for innovation and such, meaning that, with this tier list, yes, you can use it as a reference point, as a starting point. Ultimately, use your own testing to find out what works for you, because you might be able to come up with like some really, really crazy stuff. This game is really fantastic about deck building and innovation. So before we move on from Todoroki 2, did you want to add anything else, Nate?
No, that's about it.
Okay. And then how about Todoroki 3?
Todoroki 3, I would probably put this guy... Probably at tier 2.
Tier 2? Okay, and
Yeah.
why is that?
I think Todoroki 2 is just better than that character.
Gotcha.
Because he revolves around building multiple copies of the same character, so you kind of have to find those, and if you don't find them...
Yeah, then you're just
it's kinda
down.
rough.
You're just down in enhance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then...
Only half of your character works.
And moving on to another fan favorite, Ochako 1. How do we feel about her?
Okay, just tier 1. I think the character is very good.
Okay, and yeah, go on.
He does that card pool clearing thing once per turn, and then she gets to commit herself to pick up a momentum and give your attack 3 speed. So you play an attack, you get a momentum, and then you play another attack, give that attack 3 speed, and add another attack. So you just kind of loop attacks.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Okay, and then how about Ochako 2?
Ochako 2. I think the character is a tier 1.
Okay, so again, Ochako really coming out strong. And what makes Ochako 2 tier 1 when compared to Ochako 1?
That character gets to give free +2 speed on every attack she plays, and if one hits you, you get to add it back to your hand, and your next check gets +2, so clearing the card pool again, making your next check easier, essentially. Next card you play easier to play, and then you can give -3 speed to one of your opponent's attacks once per turn.
Okay.
And make it easy to block.
Okay, so if Ochako 1 and Ochako 2 are tier 1, where do you put Ochako 3? Surely tier 1, right?
No, tier 3. That character's like just not good at all. Sorry.
Yeah. And what makes it like not so good?
She doesn't do enough. She doesn't do what like the other ones did in the past. Right.
So she like kind of like diverges from that playstyle almost entirely. That's her like own unique thing, but like the payout's not there. Okay, and how about Iida?
That character's probably tier 2.
Okay.
He gets to take the first enhance no matter what, which is very unique. I like that a lot.
Right.
And then he gives +3 speed or -3 speed to an attack once per turn. And if it's your attack, every enhance your opponent plays, they have to commit a foundation to do an enhance, which is very cool.
That does sound really, really strong. And on paper, as a new player, to me, that sounds really, really good. Why does he not break that tier 1 threshold?
Just because, like, the thing Iida wants to do just doesn't go well enough with what every other character is doing, right? Every other character is just doing what he's doing, but better. But,
Right.
like, not the same. All of, like, you can give a bunch of speed to all of your attacks throughout the turn. You give speed to one thing,
Yeah.
which just isn't enough.
Okay. And how about Iida 2? Does Iida 2 redeem himself at all?
I think Iida 2's like tier 2.
Tier 2? Okay.
I think there's a world where he gets to be tier 2. But you have to play him a very specific way, and you have to build a damage reduction deck.
Right.
Is what I played him in the past as. But you have to play him very correctly, in my opinion, from when I played him.
Okay. And then Iida 3, is Iida 3 also tier 2 with the rest of the Iidas?
No, he's tier 3.
Okay.
He's just, like, not good. He gets already a foundation, a 1 difficulty foundation once per turn, which is not the best. All the other characters that are ready foundations, just ready any foundation, which is just a lot better than what he can do.
Okay, and then we have 7 different versions of All Might, so he's the character with the most versions in the game. So starting us off, All Might 1, how do you feel?
I think he's tier 2. He's a super fun deck. He's not super competitive, but like he's not like the worst thing of all time. I think he's just like a fun character if you want to play a super fun deck.
Okay. And
All Might 2 is tier 1.
Okay.
He has scaling damage, which is always good, and is able to draw cards, which is always good. Like, if your character can draw cards, it's always really strong with scaling damage.
Yeah, I ended up playing against All Might 2 actually at locals my first time. And I was playing Jiro, which, for those of you that play MHA, Jiro is one of the best decks in the format. And the moment I realized he was just trying to, like, kill me in a single turn, I realized that all I had to do was kill him back in a single turn. And so it just became, like, this, like, giant race to, like, try and knock each other out. So I think it's a really interesting playstyle, definitely. But, yeah, I think that deck, it looked really fun, and it looked pretty, like, easy to pick up as well. So for people trying to get into the game, would you say All Might in general is just like one of the easier decks to pick up?
I agree with that, yeah.
Okay, how about All Might 3?
All Might 3 is tier 1. He gets to punish your opponent for holding too many cards in hand, and also to punish your opponent for not holding the right amount of cards, holding too little of cards, and gets to draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
So he's essentially an 8-hander with 30 health, which is always good.
Right, okay. And then how about All Might 4, or as the community calls him, True Might?
I think he is probably tier 2, just because of the deck that was shown off at the Florida Regional. There's just, like, if you don't have a counter to it, you just get to just die in 1 turn, which isn't the worst thing to happen.
To my knowledge, right, how it's been explained to me is that All Might 4 is very much so like All Might with the most like go in potential, like the most like I'm going to beat you this turn. So what stops him from being tier 1?
There's just so many counters to what he can do, and he constantly is losing health throughout the game. He loses 3 health at the beginning of his turn, so if he doesn't kill you before he gets too low, you can just kill him very easily because he lost health over the course of the game for free.
Okay. And then how about All Might 5?
He's also just tier 2. I think he has a really good deadlock ability on his character, which can be quite scary, but that's about it. I think that's the best part about that character. He also gets to draw 2 cards.
Okay.
He cycles 2, essentially.
And then how about All Might 6?
I think this guy's very good. I think he's
tier 3?
Probably tier 3.
Okay, and then All Might 7, the final All Might. Surely the last All Might has to be good, right?
I think they're just tier 2.
Okay.
Being able to commit your opponent's character is very strong right now because a lot of decks right now revolve around having their character up. If they don't have the character up, they just kind of explode.
And so, out of the 7 different versions of All Might, which one would you recommend for veteran players, and which one would you recommend for newer players?
For veteran players, I'd say All Might 3, and for newer players, either All Might 3 or All Might 2.
Okay. And then, finally leaving All Might Hell, we are moving on to the other students of Class 1A, starting with Mina 1. How do you feel?
Tier 3.
She
gets to do one cute thing, but like it's very mimic. It's not a mimic, but like it's a gimmick. I should say.
Yeah, got you. It's very like one-dimensional. The payoff's not there, kind of thing. Okay. What about Mina 2?
Character's tier 3. Character's not the best.
Yeah. So Mina fans just aren't getting a lot of competitiveness here, right?
Yeah.
All right, but speaking of competitiveness, we do have the Kirishimas, which obviously veterans of this game will know the backstory behind Kirishima, but for those of you that aren't familiar with this game, trying to get into it, Kirishima, both versions have been errated in the past for being too powerful. So these are the errated version of the characters. So with that being said, Kirishima 1, how do you feel?
Tier 3. With the errata, he just doesn't do enough.
Yeah. Okay, and then how about... Alright, go on.
Kirishima 2 is definitely tier 2.
Okay.
I think his responsibility is good enough to get you to be able to do well in an event. So.
Yeah. Okay. And then how about Kaminari 1?
I would say tier 2. He's still a very good aggro deck.
Okay. And then Kaminari 2?
Tier 3. He doesn't really do anything.
So what difference is there between Kaminari 1 and Kaminari 2?
So Yankee 1 snaps a bunch of momentum all at once and is able to play all of like the face-up momentum cards and be able to cycle through a bunch of attacks in one turn. Yankee 2 just gets a momentum for free every turn.
Yeah.
And doesn't get to use it for anything.
Got you. Okay. And then how about Ojiro 1?
Tier 3.
Okay. Any like particular reason why?
He's just like not the best.
Okay. And then Ojiro 2, who actually once again did receive an errata, which I think is
character's still good. I think it's tier 2.
Yeah, and so this is one of those interesting things where MHA is a game is much more aggressive about errataing their cards than other card games, right? If a card is a problem, an alternative to banning it is they're willing to actually correct the text and make it a lot more of a fair card. Not to mention that they still, on top of that, still do bans. And correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, but they're trying to be a lot more proactive about it going forward, so where they're going to see a lot more ban lists, a lot more erratas. Is that correct?
Yeah, every Tuesday of the month, at the beginning of the month, they're gonna release a banner and errata list, or they just won't change it at all.
Yeah.
But that's what's gonna happen going forward, which excites me as a competitive player.
Yeah, for sure. After a while, having the ban list changes or erratas, it kind of shakes up the meta, brings new things to be innovated, and I think that's, for any card game player, really is really fun. But how about Coda? Coda
is tier 3.
Okay.
They banned the only card that made him very good.
Which was?
Crow and Frog Takedown. It was
Gotcha.
a promo, and that card was a problem, so they just banned it, and that was the only card that made him tier 2. He wouldn't be a tier 1 anyways, but...
Okay. And then how about Tokoyami?
Tokoyami is probably still tier 1. I think that character is still insane. He gets to play very good aggro.
Yeah. And then for those of you coming from my Digimon audience, Tokoyami 1 is the equivalent of Rookie Rush, where you're just dropping hand and going face. But that being said, how about Tokoyami 2?
Tier 3. This character doesn't...
Okay, good talk.
Do. Yeah, he doesn't do a lot.
And then how about Shoji?
I think Shoji 1 is probably tier 2.
Okay. Essentially
a 7-hander. He loses life to pick up a card from his discard pile, which is very unique.
Okay. And then, like you said, anything that really just gets you additional plus to hand is inherently really good, right? Okay, and then how about Shoji 2?
Tier 3.
Okay. Any reason for that?
I just don't... he has counters, and if you spend them all, like, strong. He's just not good, and you have to spend them wisely.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like the counters aren't good enough. There's not a lot of ways of getting a bunch of counters except for through him.
Okay. And then how about Sato?
Sato 1 is, I want to say, tier 1.
Oh, really? Okay. And why is that?
The character's very good. He gets to cycle 2 cards per turn, and then give your attack stun 1, so you get to your opponent has to commit a foundation.
Okay.
And every time you draw a card, you get to give a damage, so he has scaling damage. That's always good, and giving stun to 2 attacks is always good, and being able to cycle cards.
Yeah, and I know he's also the our boy Karar, mutual friend of ours. He main Sato actually, took him to nationals, almost made top 32 with that character, and I think that's gonna be his main going forward as well still. But tidbit aside, how about Sato 2?
Sato 2 is tier 3.
Okay.
I don't think that character will ever be the best.
And what is Sato 3's gimmick that makes him so not great?
He first form, you draw 2 cards, becomes a 7-hander, but at the end of your turn, you have to discard 2 cards.
Ah, I see.
So like, if you don't hold, you have to hold cards to play defense.
Yeah, going into your opponent's offensive turn, you're just down 2 cards for no reason. Okay, makes sense. What about Sarah 1?
Sarah 1's probably tier 2. He gets to change the attack of his attacks at any point in time.
Oh, so you're just abusing Tape Swing? Alright, yeah, now Tape Swing, yeah, go on.
He also, once per game, gets to look at your opponent's hand and discards a card. And if they off-block your attack, you get to draw 2 cards.
Okay, that's... Wait, really? Like, is that's just like a static?
It's response.
That's pretty good. Okay, what about Sarah 2?
Probably tier 3.
Okay, and what makes...
There was a deck going around to make him tier 2, but like, it went away.
Got you. And I know, first-hand experience, Tape Swing is an absolutely crazy card. The fact that it's not once per turn. So this, Sarah 1 actually sounds really fun. I might look into it after this video, TBH. What about Hakakure, though?
Toru is probably tier 2. I think being able to give Flash to an attack is very strong.
Yeah. And so for those of you that don't know, in My Hero, there is something called the Enhanced Step, and that's that's primarily where the interaction stems from. Being able to use abilities and you to bounce back and forth between you and your opponent. What Flash does is it skips that step almost entirely, so your opponent nor do you have a chance to immediately respond to the card played. So you just go straight into the block phase. And so for opponents that rely on their enhances to be defensive utility, it's a very powerful offensive tool. In question, can she use that on your opponent's cards or no?
Yeah, you can use them on both your attack and their attack.
Nah, that's crazy then. Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. Okay, how about Toru 2?
I think Toru 2 is probably also tier 2. Not as good as Toru 1, but she's still up there.
Okay, and then does she do anything differently from Toru 1?
Yeah, she, instead of flashing an attack, she bounces it back to the opponent's hand and gets to look at the top card of their deck and discard it if they would like.
Got you. Okay. And then, of course, Jiro.
I think character's tier 1.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna do everyone a favor, and she's up there. She's up there.
He has scaling stats with every card in her card pool.
And having played Jiro firsthand, I can definitely say this character, it's pretty easy to pick up. It's very easy to learn the basics with her. Also, it's just very fun. it's just really fun getting free stats on all your attacks and just really pushing your opponent down. But what about Mineta 1?
Mineta 1 is probably tier 3.
Okay, and why is that?
He doesn't really do a whole lot. He gets to return an attack to printed speed and say you can't get speed bonuses, but like nothing else.
I see, okay. And how about Mineta 2, which I ended up facing at locals, and it beat me, so I ended up in 3rd place.
I think that character is also tier 1.
Okay.
He steps opponent. He takes one of your opponent takes a foundation, stuffs it in their card pool during his turn, and if it's your turn, you get to build the top card of your deck face down, and you get to discard a momentum, turn the attack speed to 0 and draw a card.
Yeah, and so one of the things I noticed about Mineta is that he would make my progressive difficulty a lot harder to beat over, and so he made all of my cards much more expensive, as well as just like reducing my speed entirely. So it felt like all of my cards that just gave me free speed just got absolutely shot. But yeah, so that card definitely was pretty difficult to deal with, but I think now with the experience, I should be able to handle it a little better. But we'll see for next locals. But that being said, your favorite character, the character that you are known for, Momo 1, how do you feel?
Tier 1.
Yeah, I'll just do you a favor. Here you go, buddy.
Thanks, bud.
There you go. You want it above Jiro or below Jiro?
Above Jiro.
Above Jiro? Alright, just for you. Alright. Give us the spiel.
Momo 1 gets to interacts with the card pool, her discard pile, and her stage, which is all very unique.
Yeah.
And she's probably the best not the best defensive, but the second best defensive character in the entire game, I would say.
Who is the best?
I would say Recovery Girl currently.
Okay, and of course we'll get to her in a bit. But yeah, so at the current moment, just since you are the Momo expert, going forward with all the new support that we've currently seen, where do you think Momo will end up being in set 5?
I think she'll also be tier 1 still, because of all of the support she gets under each one of her symbols.
Okay, makes sense. And then how about Momo 2?
Momo 2 is tier 3.
Any reason for that?
She doesn't get to play defense as well as Momo 1, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay, and then what about Asui 1?
Asui 1 is tier 1.
Okay, here we can just throw him up there. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Here.
She gets to do the.
What is like? There you go. All right.
There we go.
That's our clickbait. That's our clickbait.
Yeah. Yeah. Asui 1 gets to clear a card pool and give 2 speed to all of her attacks, and it's very strong.
Okay, and then what about Asui 2?
Tier 3.
Okay, any reason for that?
She clears your opponent's card pool and instead of her own.
That sounds terrible.
And to give damage.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, what about I Can't Stop Twinkling, Aoyama?
Aoyama.
Yeah.
I would say he's probably tier 2.
Okay.
I don't think he's the worst. He gives a bunch of stats, which is always good.
Okay, and then how about I Can't Stop Twinkling 2?
Tier 3.
Gotcha.
Doesn't really do a lot.
Okay.
Eraserhead, tier 1.
Okay. Any particular reason as to that? Here, we can fan service.
Perfect.
Yeah.
He just have a hander that gets to play defense very, very well. Gives -2 speed or +2 speed to every attack. And then he gets to draw 2 cards after he plays or blocks with an action card.
Or aka in his case, the card Erase, right?
Yeah. So Erase says response after an attack is played. Your opponent can't use enhances on it. Well, seal it, I guess. Which is
basically just turning it off.
Except for responses. And that just turns off a lot of characters in the game.
Got you. And how about Eraserhead 2?
I think it's tier 2.
Okay.
I think it's pretty good. He gets to turn off an attack once per turn, and that's pretty good.
Okay, and then Eraserhead 3?
I would say he's also in the realm of tier 2.
Gotcha. Okay.
He gets to draw quite a bit of cards.
Okay, and then going into class 1B, we do have Monoma. So what do you think? What are you thinking?
I would say he's probably also tier 2. He gets to become your opponent's character after you hit them with an attack.
That's pretty cool. That's actually really cool. That's actually a really cool gimmick. Okay. And then Shinzo?
Tier 3.
Unfortunate. And why is he tier 3?
He just gives speed to, like, you have to first form name the zone of all of the attacks you're probably playing for the rest of the turn. So it gives your opponent an idea of what's going on for the rest of the turn.
I see. And then does he do anything like with his brainwashing quirk at all or no?
Not really, no.
Oh, so no, like, force your opponent to play a card or like, make them block with a certain thing, anything like that?
You do get to make them, like, randomly if your opponent shuffles their hand, you make them play a card at random.
And is that once
or
per
they discard
turn?
it. It's a once per turn. Yeah.
Got you. Okay. And then I actually don't know her name.
Ibara Shiozaki.
Okay, I'm glad you know this. Pro MHA player, by the way.
I wouldn't say pro.
All right, where does Ibarra go?
All right, I think the character's tier 2.
Okay.
But Tim Keefe at the Kansas City Regional got second place with it.
Oh, she really?
So, literally, that man is just built different.
Oh, okay. So here, we just like, yo, she like up here then?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what does she do that makes her so good?
She says, enhance once per turn your next low ignores progressive difficulty. And then, enhance this attack gets -1 damage. Your next attack gets +3.
Oh, that's pretty good. So it's a net +2. Got you. Okay, and then how about Tetsu?
Probably tier 3. Let's say tier 2.
Tier 2? Okay.
Yeah.
And what does he do that separates him from Kirishima? Yeah, we can put them like right next to each other, you know?
He once per turn sets an attack to 1 damage. Excuse me. And can discard a card to give +4 damage to his attack.
Okay. And then how about Hatsume Mei?
I think she's also tier 2. She gets to scale with assets, and I like assets, but I think she gets to scale very well.
Do you think she's just a worse Momo?
Her and Momo do completely different things.
Really? Okay, because it's been described to me as like a inferior Momo. So what do they do differently?
Mei doesn't get to like build her blocks down. She gets to build in. She starts with 4 assets removed from the game, and then gets to build them in later. And each one gets to draw her a card.
Got you.
And then she gives stats to attacks per asset you have in play.
Okay. And then what about I want to say 13th.
It's 13.
13. Okay. What is how good is 13?
I think this character in the future is going to be insane, but right now I think she's tier 3.
Okay, so what about 13 is so good?
She gets the after your opponent plays a foundation card in their card pool, she could just discard it, get rid of it.
Once per turn?
And then she gets to cancel a 9-character speed ability.
Okay.
So like it's a to give speed to your attack with like an action or something, she just cancels it.
And so do you think that it's the discarding a card from foundation and card pool? That's gonna eventually bump her up.
And then also canceling speed.
Yeah. Okay, and then what about Recovery Girl?
I think she's tier 1.
Okay. And why is that? Here, we can just for you, buddy. I can make you feel a little bit better about it.
Thanks, man. She gets to gain 2 health every turn at the beginning of her turn. Well, once per turn, gain 2 health.
Right.
After she takes damage to an attack, she gets to build a foundation from her discard pile.
It's pretty good. Okay, that's pretty good.
And it's not limited. And then she can destroy 2 foundations to give her attack throw.
That's pretty good. All right, pretty good character. What about Midnight?
Midnight is also tier 2.
Okay. Okay, obviously gotta toss it up here. All right. So what about Midnight is tier 2?
She gets to like discard cards from her hand to draw new cards.
Yeah.
So she gets to essentially cycle cards, which is always good. And then she does better for each keyword the attack has. Attack has. Either it gives plus or minus speed to equal the keywords.
Okay, so I assume like her deck like has a ton of keywords and stuff like that built into her attacks. Okay, and then what about Present Mic?
Tier 3.
Okay. Why is that?
Yep.
Oh, good talk. All right, Present Mic. Present Mic 2.
Tier 3.
Okay. Any valid reason?
They just don't do anything.
All right, Nezu.
I think this character's tier 3 as well.
All right.
Like he's just very fun to play, but like I don't think he will be competitively viable.
Okay, and how about Gran Torino?
Tier 3 as well.
Okay. And your reason for that?
Gets to build down attacks that are blocked,
Mm-hmm.
but he has to commit a foundation for it, so it's like a 1-for-1, which isn't the worst.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
doesn't really do anything with those built down foundations.
Okay, and then how about a backdraft?
I want to say this guy is tier 2, but
You think he's tier 3?
I don't. I think he's tier 2.
Tier 2? Alright.
Yeah, people are gonna call me crazy for that one.
Okay, but okay, so give your justification. What is the justification for tier 2 backdraft?
So under the water symbol, you have a card called Rescue Completed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3 difficulty foundation.
Right.
This is commit a foundation. This attack gets -2 speed.
Mm-hmm.
Or +1 speed.
Right.
He says enhance commit a foundation gives this attack -2 speed.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a fire attack, it gets -1 more speed.
Okay.
So essentially, you get to commit a foundation for -2 speed, so you don't have to run Rescue Completed in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to discard 5 cards from the card pool and give it +5, your attack +5/+5. And I think there's a lot of card pool stuffing under the water symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And you could shove 5 cards in very quickly, give your attack +5/+5.
And is that once per turn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got you. And then Death Arms?
He topped an event recently, so I can't say he's tier 3. So I'd say he's tier 2.
Tier 2.
Because you get to play the Earth package very well.
Got you. Okay, and then Mount Lady.
This character's tier 3.
Okay.
I don't think she really does a lot.
Alright, and then
Fourth kind is tier 1.
yeah.
He just won the Kansas City Regional.
Alright. Sorry. Okay, better or worse than Recovery Girl?
Just better than Recovery Girl.
Alright.
Because you get to put a lot of pressure on Recovery Girl.
Okay. And then what about Endeavor?
Endeavor 2 is probably tier 2.
Oh wait, okay. Endeavor 1.
Endeavor 1, probably tier 3.
Okay. And then any reason for that?
Not really.
And then Endeavor
I just think tier the second one's just way better than him by a lot.
But it's tier 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then how about Kamui Woods, one of the more defensive characters in the game?
I think Kamui Woods is tier 1.
Oh, really? Okay. Why is that?
Yeah. I think he gets to play the damage reduction Earth package extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
And also gets to play the water symbol extremely well as well.
If you
defensively.
Yeah, so if you had to choose between Earth or Water Kamui, what would you say?
I would say Earth. He gets a lot more defense.
Okay, and then Ingenium?
Tier 3.
Oh, okay, so not as good as his brother, huh?
Yeah.
And why is that? What does Ingenium do that's different from Iida? You got this. I believe in you.
Alex.
Alright, moving on. Gunhead.
I think if you're gonna play a throw character, you're just gonna play a different one than him.
You just play All Might or something?
Yeah,
Tier 3. Alright, Selkie?
I think he's tier 2.
Okay.
I think he's a world where he's tier 2. I don't think he's fine.
And what's his, what general, vague description of his gimmick?
Face down cards don't count towards progressive, so you get to play a lot of echo attacks.
Oh, well, that's really cool, actually. Okay, and what about Snipe?
Snipe is probably tier 3.
That's tragic, because he sounds really cool.
He sounds very cool.
Because it's, It's, enhance, discard top card of your deck if it's, some kind of... what's the condition? If it's something...
ranged attack.
And then, it pings your opponent for damage?
It might be just an attack.
Okay. Cementos?
No, it's your opponent's deck. Yeah.
Oh, your opponent's deck?
Yeah, if it's an attack, they lose 2L.
That's pretty dope. What about Cementos?
I think the guy is also tier 3.
Mm-hmm.
He gets to draw a bunch of cards eventually, but he has to hit late game.
Yeah, and it's the meta right now is just really fast, so it's hard to get to that late game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about Iwabami?
I think she's also tier 3.
Okay. Any particular reason for that?
She does have a lot of 3 damage moves, and I don't think there's enough in the game to where the 3 damage moves that we have are good enough.
Okay. And then, Mandalay?
I think character's fun. I think it's also tier 3.
I was about to say, is it tier 3 fun, or is it good fun?
It's just tier 3 fun.
Okay. Any particular reason for that?
No. Like you have to reveal 2 cards in your hand.
Mhm.
Like that's not. And they have to be the same card. You have to show your opponent information what's in your hand, and that's
Yeah.
like one of the most important thing about card games is you have to make
Right.
your opponent guess what you have in hand.
Okay. And then Pixie Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tier 2.
Okay. And what's so good about Pixie Bob that Mandalay doesn't have?
Pixie Bob gets a once. No, it's not that one. Pixie Bob makes both players take a card from the staging area, a foundation, put it in their momentum.
Got you. Okay. And so why is that strong in her case? Because it sounds like your opponent also gets this benefit.
Building your opponent is insanely strong,
Mm-hmm.
and you can give your attack stun 1.
Yeah.
And it's also very good.
Okay. And is that once per turn?
No.
Okay, that is pretty good then. What about Ragdoll?
Ragdoll is tier 2.
Okay.
Once per game, you can look through your deck and add a card to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
You can just.
It's just a straight up tutor. Yeah.
It's better than a tutor actually. You just get a look and just grab one, so you're a 7-hander.
Yeah. Okay.
At one time.
And then Tiger.
Tier 2.
Okay.
Mhm. After your attack deals damage, you get to draw a card. You get to swap the stats of an attack once per turn, which is very strong.
I mean, so on paper that sounds really, really good. What stops Tiger from being into that tier 1 territory?
His attack has to deal damage, so he has to play a bunch of cantrips.
Yeah.
And you have to find the cantrips.
Got you. Okay. And then moving on finally into the villains, we are starting off with Shigaraki 1.
Shigaraki 1 is tier 2. I think
Okay.
this character is very, very strong.
Here, we can toss him up here.
Yeah, high tier 2. I
Yeah.
think this character will eventually be tier 1 someday.
Okay.
If your opponent just doesn't, if your opponent takes damage, they take 5 more once per turn. And if you completely block an attack, your opponent destroys a foundation. So like destroying your opponent's foundations and
is that once per turn?
Yeah, both abilities are.
Okay.
Well, the destroy a foundation is not once per turn.
That's pretty.
You just have
gross,
to commit
then.
him.
Yeah.
In his kit, you have an attack that readies your character.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then Shigaraki 2.
This character's tier 3. I
Okay.
don't think I just don't think he can do enough currently. But I think there's a world where he gets to be better later on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then my personal favorite version of Shigaraki 3. What do you think?
I think he's also. I think he's tier 2.
Okay.
Like high tier 2 with Shigaraki 1.
Yeah. And so Shigaraki 3's gimmick, for those of you that don't know, is that he forces your opponent to make a check, and if they fail, you gain. What is it? I believe you draw an additional card.
You get a draw card, yeah.
And that's for every time, once every enhanced step. So you potentially just like plus like a ton if your opponent's not willing to commit some resources for it. Yeah. And then what about all for one?
He gets tier 2.
Okay. Any particular reason for that?
He gets a free momentum.
Mm-hmm.
From your hand, and then you get to mess around with your momentum and pick up one of them and replace it with a card in your hand.
Okay, and then Kurogiri?
I think he's tier 2. I think this character's very good.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Being able to take one of your opponent's attacks that they played and put it at the bottom of their deck, and you choose up to, not up to, but if your opponent doesn't have an attack in their discard pile, they just don't get a card. But if they have an attack in their discard pile, you have to add one.
Okay, and then how about Kurogiri 2?
I think he's tier 2 as well with Kurogiri 1.
Mm-hmm.
He's essentially a 7-hander. He gets to play cards from his discard pile, which is very cool.
Alright, and then Stain 1?
I think he's tier 3.
Okay, and on paper he reads pretty good, but so what stops Stain from actually being competitively viable?
So he has to deal damage.
Yeah.
And like if you play against a defense deck, you're like never dealing damage.
Mm-hmm.
For his effects to work. That's the problem.
And then Stain 2?
Tier 3 as well.
Okay.
It just doesn't really do anything.
Alright, and then we're almost done here. Dobby 1?
He's also
Tier 3?
I think he's tier 3.
Okay.
I actually just put him in tier 2. I think he's fine enough to be in tier 2.
Okay. And what is like what separates him from tier 2 and tier 3?
He gets to give a bunch of damage, and gives throw to one thing, or makes your opponent destroy all the ready foundations.
Yeah.
Which is very strong. Well, can be very strong, I should say.
Okay, and then Dobby 2?
Like, Dobby 2 is probably tier 1.
Really? Okay. And
I think this character almost topped the Kansas City Regional, giving a bunch of stats. Terran Cardboard played it fantastic. That deck is really cool. And it did very well. Just barely missing top cats.
Okay, and then Spinner?
I think he's tier 2. He gets to build foundations once per turn on your opponent's turn and your turn. And can catch your opponent off by surprise by building in like super good defensive foundations.
Yeah. I just realized I thought Ectoplasm was a villain, but we're just gonna do this real quick. Where does Ectoplasm go?
Tier 3.
All right, good talk. So it didn't matter. All right.
Yeah.
God, what? Wait, don't.
Tier 1.
Wait, hang on. What? Toga. Okay.
Toga.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was struggling. What's so good about Toga?
She gets to cycle cards, and she gets to burn your opponent, and that's really cool.
Okay, and then Toga 2?
Tier 3, sadly.
Okay.
I want that character to be good so bad. One day we can hope.
Yeah. And then how about Twice?
He's tier 2.
Okay.
I think he's okay.
So he's at least playable. He's not really tier 3, but he's like bottom of the barrel tier 2, would you say? Okay, what about Mr. Compress?
I think he's tier 2.
Okay.
I think he can do pretty good.
Okay. And then Nomu?
I think Nomu's tier 1.
Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of climbing here, but yeah. So I know Nomu's gimmick is that he caps the amount of damage you can take to 6 damage. So you have to actually connect 6 full blows to actually take him out. So he's because he's a 35 lifer, so he's actually very, very bulky, and he does quite a bit of damage as well, right? Because he adds the attacks. Correct me if I'm wrong. It adds the difficulty of the attack to the damage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Innsmouth?
I think he's tier 2.
Okay.
Being able to stuff cards in your opponent's card pool is very strong.
And then Muscular?
Tier 2. I think he's just a worse Nomu.
Got you.
Gets to scale with damage, which isn't bad.
Okay. And then Magne?
Tier 3.
Unfortunate, but
sadly.
Yeah, what's the reason for that, would you say?
It deals with the amount of damage, their effect, and like if it's evens or odds, and that's about it.
Got you. And then last character, Moonfish?
Tier 3.
Alright, and any particular reason for that?
He has to deal with a lot of 3 damage moves, and like 3 damage moves probably isn't enough to get you a win. You have to play bigger attacks.
So, that all being said, first of all, before we move on with this segment, I just want to say thank you to Nathan Dewalt once again for taking the time with me today to go over this. I know that, like I said, this is a bit of a change in pace from what we normally do over the Hoang Zero channel, but I really do think this game is very, very good. I'm very interested to see what the future holds for this game, and so once again, thank you for that. But with all that being said, tier 2 and tier 3 aside, in tier 1, actually moving and ranking things, where did you say these characters genuinely go? Like, what do you think is the best deck of the entire format?
Format?
Yeah,
Such a tough decision.
Then let's say top 3 decks. What are the top 3 decks of the format?
Top 3 decks. I'm gonna say Recovery Girl.
Okay, so we got Recovery Girl.
Recovery Girl for sure.
Okay.
I think character's very good.
Okay.
I think Fourth Kind.
Okay. Are you gonna say Momo for your third?
No.
Alright, so who's the third slot?
I want to say Jiro is the third best deck.
Okay, so if you had to everything on the line, would you say if you had to give one definitive answer, would you say Recover Girl is the best deck currently? Given that
no, I would say Fourth Kind is the best deck.
Okay. Alright, that's fair. And to my knowledge, Fourth Kind, the 4th card that you play in your card pool ignores progressive difficulty, and I believe gets +4 damage.
No, it doesn't ignore progressive difficulty. It gets
Oh, it's -4 difficulty, right?
-4 difficulty.
Right, yeah. Which is arguably even better, actually. Because at the 4th slot, that would be, what, +3, correct?
+4?
No, it's +3,
it's
right?
4.
Wait, no, 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no?
It's +3. I can't count.
Yeah, so it's effectively it's a -1 difficulty. Yeah, that's
I told you I'm not a professional. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, this guy, this memer. But yeah, so of course we will post this tier list in the video description below. I'll give it one quick glimpse through once again in slow motion. Pause it, of course, if you want to take a peek of it. But yeah, so this is the comprehensive tier list of all, correct me if I'm wrong, 101 characters currently available in My Hero Academia trading card game as of Classroom Reunion. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And,
I will say this is all opinion based.
Of course,
if you disagree with me, you're more than welcome to. This is my opinion.
Look, man, Nathan has what you call brain rot because all he does is play Momo.
Hey, that's not true. That's not true.
Okay, my bad. He
There was not one time.
he topped worlds with Eraserhead. My bad. My bad.
Yeah.
But mostly Momo brain rot.
Yeah.
So of course, like obviously Nathan has the perspective of a more control style player. I'm talking to Nathan personally one-on-one. He puts a lot more emphasis on the quality of your foundation because he as not verbatim per se, but in shorthand. If your foundations are garbage, you're losing the game.
Yeah, basically.
And I've spoken with other players, notable players like Levi, and Levi's philosophy is very drastically different, actually, from Nathan's. Levi's philosophy is that if you can't deal 28 damage back to your opponent on the clapback, your deck is not worth playing. So one philosophy is very defensive oriented, the other one's much more aggressive oriented, and I think that's like a very interesting concept for a card game, is that you can have such drastic philosophies in terms of like deck building and the approach to the game, and I think that's one of the really great things about My Hero, is that it's so open-ended, there's a lot of innovation to be had, and if you decide to get into this game, or you decide to take that step from casual to competitive, you might just become that next pro player, like Nathan Dewalt. Alright, but yeah, so once again, thank you, Nate. Is there anything you would like to say to everyone watching at home?
Not really. I don't really have anything.
Any shout-outs?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out my sponsor, Unfun Stuff. If you have any collectible needs, I'd recommend going over and shopping over there. They get your stuff shipped out very quickly and on time.
Okay, and anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thanks for watching.
Alright, peace out, guys.